I'm Oliver Gwynne, and this is where I give you my off the cuff and unrehearsed thoughts on marketing data and philosophy. This week, will AI actually make humans more valuable? That has been my prophecy and thought for the week. So, how did I come to this conclusion? Well, I was looking through a client's Google Ads account, and they had spent quite a lot of money on PMax. So PMax is short for Performance Max. If you're unfamiliar, it's kind of like giving Google money and saying, "Hey, you do whatever you want as long as you get me some clients. I don't mind." And it sets everything on autopilot. And the problem with PMax has been that it's been found that its placements can be very odd. There was recently a outcry because some clients discovered that their adverts were being shown on really inappropriate adult content sites, pornography, basically. And the other thing is, whenever I'm auditing a PMax account, I see some very odd things in terms of audiences that have been targeted and placements. So this particular brand was a dog supplement brand, and PMax had targeted cat lovers, which makes no sense, and a lot of other very strange things that could only have happened because Google has used its AI algorithm to scan the website, taken that text, and then just extrapolated from there. And bear in mind, Google is $1 trillion company with every emphasis to get this right. This is how they make their money, and they are not getting it right. It's doing a lot of odd things. And in most cases, I still believe that today, while PMax is one avenue that you can use, manually setting up your campaigns and putting in your targeting at campaign level is still probably the best practice. People don't do it because it doesn't always yield seemingly the best results. It costs them more seemingly per acquisition, but typically when you do it manually and you go towards your core audience, then what you find is that those people actually spend more money in the long term. But you only know that if you've got your data set up and combined with the backend data, not if you're just looking through Google. So I think that's why people don't have that impression. But it made me think, well, in most cases, I would say that PMax is not best practice. Best practice is manual input, somebody who knows what they're doing. And in fact, I was talking to another client recently who was asking me about AI recommendations on ads. And I was saying to it, do you ever listen to the recommendations from Google? And they said, no, no, no. It always just tells me to spend more money. It's like, well, that's only going to be the same for the AI solution. Yeah, they can come up with some basic stuff, but they're just applying a very basic algorithm and a little bit of NLP on what you've already got. You, as somebody who runs ads, will definitely know better than the AI is going to know. So why would you go with this kind of tool? Doesn't make a lot of sense to me, and it won't work unless you've also got that tie into your backend data. And so this started me thinking that, a lot of people say AI is not going to replace your job. It's the person who knows how to use AI that'll take your job. And, great original thought, guys. I actually don't think it will take your job at all. I actually think that it's going to make your job more valuable. It's just going to replace jobs at a certain level of company. Do I, as Oliver Gwynne, always install best practices? No, is the answer, because I don't have the time, budget, and manpower, some cases, to do what I know is the best practice. I don't always have that. I know, for example, that if I'm running a series of ads, I should A/B test on every single aspect, and I should do 100 different thumbnails to find the right one, and 100 different creatives, and all of this kind of stuff. But I don't have the time to do that and analyze it and all of this sort of stuff. And so, as a company, I have to just take a smaller approach that is combined with how much is the end outcome worth to me. But if I was working for a bigger client and that was worth all of my time, I could devote that and do things in a much different way. A lot of the commentary online is that, a lot of teams are over bloated and they've got more people than they need, and AI is going to start reducing that because more people will be able to do more different aspects of their job. And I have often said that I think that marketing teams in particular, I'm a marketer for 10 years. I always thought that a lot of these teams are over bloated, and do you really need 7 people in there? But the truth is, the reason that you do that is not necessarily to free up more time. It's so that you can dedicate more resources, more time to doing something properly. You could have a copywriter in-house full time just to handle that, because you know that the tone of voice is really important. It's going to be seen by so many people. and it needs to be right. And having a person just dedicated to that makes sense, and another person to visuals, and so on and so forth. And so the reason that teams get to a size where sometimes it's over bloated, sure, is that you're dedicating more people so that somebody can think about social media and nothing else and optimize that to the nth degree. And yes, AI will help that to a degree, but actually, the people who are going to hire somebody specially to work on social media, somebody specially to work on PPC, they're still going to do that because the manual input will always a million times be anything that AI can come up with from now to probably the next 20, 30 years. But there's a lot of companies where, hey, I don't have time to work on a PPC campaign. I don't know what I'm doing. So it makes a lot of sense for those people to trust PMax and put their money into there as an alternative. And so what I see happening is more of a divide where people who can't afford certain kind of roles and jobs and all of that kind of thing, or they just don't have the time, it makes sense for them to use AI because okay, the outcomes will not be great. They'll be very generalized. They won't be as good as if you were manually doing it and you were hiring an expert. But hey, I can't afford that expert anyway, and this is a good alternative, perhaps instead of somebody who is sort of junior and will have similar flaws. And so it might be more difficult to progress people's careers because at a junior level, you are now maybe going to be competing with AI, apart from in companies who have the time and effort to sort of train you up and enhance your knowledge. Historically, at AI, and we think of it in the context of the Industrial Revolution, if we think of it in terms of automation, the same kind of pattern is going to quickly emerge in the next couple of years. At the moment, everything's new and shiny and interesting, and you can make yourself a Ghibli character and all this kind of stuff. But pretty soon, we're going to find out what it does best, and that's probably something quite mundane. Economists David Autor, Frank Levy, and Richard Murnane, I should look at these names before I say them out loud, found that while routine roles declined because of automation, tasks involving expert thinking and complex communication actually grow. So this is what I'm saying about the real worry is if you're in a junior role and you're not going to have 5 hours to figure out what a design should be because AI can do it so quickly. And in that case, maybe using AI to enhance your own knowledge makes a lot of sense. Um, but then you're literally copying something that's very generic and it's not necessarily giving you the skills you need. And that's where the real worry is. I mean, the Industrial Revolution didn't eliminate work at all, it just changed what is valuable. And that's what I see happening again. Emily Bender and colleagues warned in their paper on the dangers of stochastic parrots. Large language models are powerful imitators, not thinkers. And that is glaringly obvious when AI confidently outputs false legal precedents. Um, there was recently a list of top 10 books this summer coming out, and like 12 of them were fake or something along those, and it was published in so many different newspapers. It publishes this false information, and it's so obviously wrong on a lot of cases, and that isn't necessarily going to improve. Bear in mind that it was trained on the entirety of the internet up until 2021, so it's not necessarily going to get a lot better a lot quicker. They're not bugs. They're fundamental limitations of systems trained on statistical associations rather than lived experience or sometimes human logic. Google's AI enhanced search began offering dangerous misinformation in 24. It reminded us that high fluency doesn't equal high accuracy. In the rush to automate, we risk outsourcing sense making to systems that don't understand what they're saying. And copywriters, while today ChatGPT, I put this video into ChatGPT and it writes it out for me, and then I go in and manually correct it. So ChatGPT certainly has a role and it can make things very quickly, but now voice is becoming more important. Standing out is becoming more important. Having expert opinions becomes more important because the generalization that is being outputted is not necessarily good. Designers are getting paid a premium now for hand-drawn visuals of hand-drawn art is becoming a trend at the moment because all this AI slop is coming out. And so human skills are becoming more and more valuable. And it's only similar to what we see in the retail space, right? All of those low decision, low interest, low caring about items you just get on eBay and you just get them on Amazon. And you don't really care. You just want the lowest price, or you don't want to spend ages looking at reviews necessarily, or you just need it tomorrow. But for the things that you really care about, it's still quite likely that you will go into a shop. And so the retail space physically has become more about the experience and customer service and all of that kind of thing. And it's been a transition period where you can't really offer that for something where your profit margin is quite small. And so luxury brands have become the norm in a retail space. And similarly, the same thing will happen in a job space. Um, it will become a premium to say, hey, I'm going to have a person writing your thing. I'm going to have a person coding this. And yes, you can pay AI to do that, but your code might then cost you a lot more money, is what we often see when ChatGPT or Gonk makes SQL. It creates a lot of errors, or it creates a lot of costs over there. Technologist Jaron Lanier aptly notes that AI is like autocomplete on steroids. It gives you what's common, but not what's right. And I think that is what my prediction is for AI. The AI era may ironically restore the value to manual, intentional work. Yes, it will speed up our day to day working, but where is it going to excel? It's going to excel in doing all that crap stuff that we don't really care about, or that can be easily done on a repetitive basis, where it makes more sense for a machine to do it, which is what we already saw in automation in tools like RPA. Where does RPA succeed on if then logic? And so, where does RPA really easily apply in the financial sector? You can automate a lot of your accounts processing and accounts payable and all of that kind of thing. And similarly, I expect that the same will be true of AI. We will come to a stage where we realize that, you know what, it's cool that it can do some of this creative stuff and it's very interesting and fun at the moment, but where does it actually excel, where it makes a real replacement for humans? It's going to be on more mundane tasks. And again, I think that there will be a clear difference that will be initiated between premium human versus middle class AI things. So that's been my thought this week on how I think AI may inadvertently make humans more valuable. Thanks very much for watching. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below.